But that's the second area. When I mentioned, first of all, the stress of business, when it actually can pour into your life and totally destabilize your personal and family life, that's to me is a huge stressor. The other second huge stressor is when you end up with snakes and suits, so you felt were people who you could trust, they get you, they get inside your skin, and you actually discover after a period of time, oh my God, what the hell is happening here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
but that's the one thing that people do. They never not surprise you, good or bad. That goes on. That's a lifelong thing, Pork. My experience.
But 99% of the people I had the privilege to work with were absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So they are very genuine people. Yeah. And it was a huge, huge privilege to be part of their lives and they be part of my life. And we creating and developing a dream together and working on it. Honest to goodness.
Yeah.
So there are things I've changed, the snake and the suits. So I'll certainly big time change that. I could have done a couple of other things differently, but look, I don't mind. By it all, we all could. That's living. That's life. We all make mistakes.
And was it in something you have inbuilt? You learned, you built it up through experience, or was it natural to you?
That's a great question.
Like dealing with the setbacks, what makes you get up in the morning when your head is thumping and you know it's going to be a bad day? How do you deal with that? Is that an inner strength that you have to find?
Well, I actually do what I love, tackling complicated issues and problems. I'll go head on in for that. So I thought about that quite a bit. And the reason I go head on into it is I don't want it lingering there, causing me and probably other people a lot more stress. So actually, I dive into the fire. So and see what the hell is happening here, what's wrong, what can we change? I'll do my best to change it around. But I don't know, are you into country and western music? No?
You're going to tell me a gambler song, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I tell you that before.
No, I read that's your song, Kenny Rogers.
That's right. Well, it's not necessarily my song.
Yeah.
But he is the best sentence I've ever heard for business. Yeah. It's a Kenny Rogers song. He probably didn't write it to intend it for business people, but he says in that, the gambler, you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, and when to run.
Exactly.
That is so important in business. So important.
Yeah.
And don't get your ego.
Yeah.
Get you to hold on in there.
Yeah.
John Wayne said on the Rio Grande, I'll never forget it, years ago, watching that film, Black and White. He says, the best thing to do when you're on a dead horse is to get off.
Yes. But it's hard to be dispassionate when you're on the horse. I mean, it's easier to look at other people's businesses in a dispassionate way. You don't look at your own business the same way.
You don't. But then one of the things I did, which was amazing, I didn't think much about it at the time. I naturally went here, is that I had my own, let's call it, personal board of directors. Who I could talk to and trust. They didn't necessarily know an awful lot about the business, but there are people I knew and they knew me, and I could talk to them about anything I want to talk about in relation to the business. And sometimes you're walking the shore in Galway Bay or wherever, and they have little comment to make. And sometimes they have a lot of comment to make, and sometimes they have lots of questions to ask. But the fact that you'll release it from inside of your head and it goes out there, that to me is a great de-stressor. And the best way to do that de-stressing, and I'm saying this to anybody who's in this space and who's listening while they are to this podcast, is that get out of the office, go for a good walk, particularly with somebody. If you want to go on your own, that's good too. And get out into nature and the fresh air, go up to the Dublin Mountains, go someplace, and just let it settle down. And then say, okay, now I'm going to see where I'm at. Because problems are rarely as bad as we make them out to be. We actually magnify the problems in our head, very much so. And that's human nature. That's the way we are.
That's normal, yeah.
Yeah.
And with the lowest points, if you were taking a look at your life, were your health ones, the loss of business, or a bit of both?
I think the lowest points in my life was, and didn't happen very often, but people who came into my life in business in particular went to screw me or take advantage of me. And people I trusted, and they got me to trust them, which I did. But they had alternative motives. Now, that, as I said, 99+% of the people were miles away from that, but there were a few. And I got really frustrated. First of all, they caused a lot of issues for the business. But secondly, I was really annoyed at myself and said, why in the hell did I not see this coming?
Yeah.
Wrong with your pork? You know, Jesus.
But isn't that the bigger weight for most of us? The fact that we think we didn't see it and we should have seen it, where they weren't displaying perhaps any signals to see it, but one still blames oneself.
Yeah, and you know, we doubt our instinct.
Correct.
We doubt our good feelings, so we don't.
Correct.
We say, no, why am I thinking like that? There's nothing wrong. Look at this person is whatever, you know, and we can doubt ourselves. And we sometimes don't back ourselves, and that can be
its own enemy.
Yeah, maybe I'm going deep here, but look at
no. I mean, what you're saying, it would be my business experience would be nowhere near yours, but you've hit a few home truths. I think a lot of us who are in that space at different levels come across as givens, whether it's 1 out of 99 people, 2, doesn't matter. But things you think will happen, I expect don't, or vice versa, and that's where you feel let down.
Exactly.
And it's like being let down is an emotional thing. You know, business people are not supposed to be emotional, but it's only normal and natural.
Well, you know, it is normal and natural. And actually, it's the emotions. Remember we spoke at the beginning of the conversation? Yeah. It's actually the emotion and the passion that keeps you going through the tough times.
Yeah.
So the emotions are hugely, critically important for a business person in actually growing, scaling, developing their business, because they're passionate about it. They're putting their heart and soul and body and mind and everything behind that big rock that they're pushing up a hill.
Yeah.
And that ball is not going to go up that big rock and not up the hill unless that emotion and that passion is there.
Correct. And in terms of your health, was that frightening, the heart attack?
The heart attack was probably the best thing that happened to me in my life.
Is that hindsight wisdom, or you feel in the balance of things it was the best thing for you?
Well, I needed a huge kick in the arse.
Yeah.
To cop on to myself. To say,
were people trying to tell you? Was your wife or somebody trying to tell you you're working too hard, or X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, my wife was, and others were as well.
Yeah.
Even say, for example, we'd be out for dinner and place we'd go to. Normally, we'd like to go as the 12 restaurant of Burnley, you may know it.
Yeah.
And we had lovely food there, and we'd be there, my wife and I, or we'd be there with friends, and she would just give me a tap under the table and would give me a little kick or whatever. She'd look at me, and I know exactly what she was on worrying. She's like, you're not here. Your mind is someplace else. You're physically here, but your mind is wrapped up in business or issues in business or whatever. Will you, for God's sake, settle down? Will you just take a step back from it? You know? So even though I was there and I was laughing and smiling and having a chat or having a drink or eating a meal, I was there physically, but I really wasn't there. So the heart attack was a time for resetting who I am and where I am in life. And I needed something serious or a big jolt to get me to cop on a little bit.
And you were in the gym or something that morning, that day when it started, wasn't it?
I was. It's a huge coincidence that I'm alive today, to be honest with you, because I was setting up another airline called Aer Lingus Regional. We got a CEO of Aer Lingus at the time, Christoph Muller, brilliant guy.
Yeah,
he was reshaping the Aer Lingus model, and in actual fact, what we were doing as a regional airline was kind of an important part of the jigsaw, putting his overall airline model in place for Aer Lingus. And they still have that model. They're still doing exactly what was created by Christoph Muller. So there were, 12, 15 years ago. So I was supposed to go up to see him. That morning I went to the gym at around 7:30. I was feeling fine. About probably 8 or 9 months before that, I ran the New York Marathon, or a year before that. So I was reasonably fit. And I was meeting a guy in Galway, in Dominic Street in Galway, for a cup of coffee. He wanted to chat with me. A guy called Alan Mulholland, great guy. He was the manager of the Galway Gaelic football team. And he wanted me to put a kind of a mentoring coaching process in place for his squad. And I started getting a pain on my left-hand side, in my shoulder, kind of towards my heart. Didn't know what it was. I told Alan I need to go to the car, I need to go to a doctor. He said, "You sure you're okay?" So